Now, we're excited today. We're going to present an interview that we had with the young lady who has written a book. And we caught up with her in Atlanta. And as many of you know, we travel all over the country to try to find those stories and bring those pieces to television and radio. So when we're out, we're always kind of touch base and look for those unusual type of interviews. And we're going to present my one-on-one interview at this time with Miss Kalandra St. George. She has written an incredible book of poetry called Beautiful Strange. She is a poet and an author. Let's see if we can launch this right now. Tell me about your penmanship. How did all this begin?
It began in my teenage years, just figuring out a way to express myself, feelings that I was dealing with, emotions. And as I began into my young adulthood, I started writing. Originally, it came out with a novel that I started, which actually evolved into a piece that I published back in 2015. I've always written poetry, always been a big fan of rap music and the lyricism of it and the art form itself. So writing poetry was always second nature for me, if you want to say.
What about inspiration? Most writers say they are inspired by someone or some other writer. Who inspires you?
If it had to be a thing, I would say the thing that inspired me most is love. And that love can be, forms in any ways of relationships, spouse to spouse, men and women, as far as mutual love between brothers and sisters, between, family members, anything that has to do with the accumulation of bringing forth that element itself. My inspiration is definitely love. If I had to think about authors or other poets that actually inspired me, Maya Angelou. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Maya Angelou, Langston Hughes, most definitely.
Okay. Tell me about the book.
Beautiful Strange. Beautiful Strange is a poetry compilation, and it's pretty much a bearing of my soul. It took some time for me to be able to share myself with the world. It was actually in Lynchburg, in a bar, with a very close friend of mine, where I met a young man just off the cuff who told me that when one expresses the deepest elements of themselves, that's what touches people the most. And it kind of gave me that push forward to know that me expressing myself wasn't necessarily a negative thing, but more so, aspect of inspiration and being a positive outlet for those that may have the same feelings that I do, and Sharon can identify with it.
You're listening to Conversations, the Facebook Weekday edition. Happy Monday to you. We are broadcasting here on Facebook my one-on-one exclusive interview with Miss Kalandra St. George. She is a poet and an author, and we caught up with her in Atlanta. She has since then relocated to Virginia. So stay tuned. We hope you are enjoying this segment here on Facebook. And you composed and wrote all of the poems.
Correct.
In the book.
Yes, every poem was written by me, composed by me, put together by different experiences and relationships that I had in my life. So it's definitely a heartfelt compilation.
When you talk about relationships,
yes,
and that's so personal, what would be one of the most influential relationship that you may have encountered? And I'm asking because a lot of poets say there's a signature moment that they experience. So if you are bearing your soul about relationships, what would have been one of the most signature relationships
that I have experienced personally, or that's portrayed in the book?
Portrayed in the book that helped you to compose and write.
That's kind of deep, huh? We won't go there.
Of course we will.
One of the most signature relationships that I experienced was coming into my womanhood and meeting someone who's very dear to me and very different from what was used to my norm, but just bringing me out of my element and out of my shell of a young woman and actually transforming me into that aspect of womanhood. And I think a lot of my poetry and a lot of my inspiration comes from that experience itself, which was definitely heartfelt. It was learning. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about relationships. I learned a lot about what it takes in order to maintain, coming from a family who was more so on the lines of just, being with oneself and it's all right if you by yourself. But inside of me, I always had the expression of love. So just living through that and making mistakes in that and actually failing in that pushed me forward to be able to expand myself so that I can become a better person and hopefully a better mate and a better partner in whatever relationship I'm in.
As we wrap this up, what's your life like now on the personal side when you're not writing and working? What do you like to do? Tell me about your personal life. You mentioned love. Let's talk about love.
My personal life, it is definitely filled with love. My children are my life and are my world, and I'm very strong in pushing them forward and making them understand what their reality is and what their strength is in this existence and in the universe. What I like to do personally, if I'm out in the sun, I'm good. In a park with no shoes on, walking around, just soaking up that energy, that works for us best. We spend as much time outdoors as we can and just experiencing different things.
How can people obtain the book and learn more about you?
I'm through Print House Books. You can obtain me on Amazon.com as well as Barnes & Noble's Book Lovin'. You can Google my name at Kalandra Yvonne, Kalandra Yovnne. You'll find me on Instagram. You'll find me on Facebook under Kalandra St. George. That's ST.George. I'm out there.
For those who are struggling, they have the gift that you have, but they can't seem to cross the finish line to get their book written. A lot of writers talk about blocks that come along. What would be your final word to those struggling to be the next Miss St. George?
When the window opens, even those writers that experience a block, you always have a moment where you feel like there's an opening or an outlet. Make sure you take advantage of that moment and go with it. I heard one say one time that when we travel on the road, we might not necessarily know where we're going, but we always have faith that that road will lead us somewhere. So just have faith and don't worry about what's going to come. Just understand that you are on the path that you're chosen to be and keep moving forward.
Well, we'd like to thank Miss Kalandra St. George for giving us that interview. And again, we caught up with her in Atlanta, Georgia, and she has an incredible book of poems. We hope that you'll have an opportunity to pick it up and contact her even on Facebook, Kalandra St. George. Just check her out. And we thank you for giving us this opportunity to bring you another Conversations Facebook Weekday edition. Again, happy Monday to you. And as we always end these segments, don't forget to go out and do something good for someone who may not look like you or someone you may not know. And thank you for your support of our independent radio, television broadcasting firm known as Whitehead Media Ventures, because this is what independent journalism looks like.